Hey, what's going on? Danny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast and PT Biz. And today we're talking about one of the most important drop-off points that we see in these businesses, and that is the discovery call. The discovery call is when someone on your team or yourself has a conversation with a prospective patient. This could be inbound. Say somebody's calling your office and your admin picks up the phone and answers it and answers these questions. This could be a set schedule where someone picks a time to talk to your team. Sometimes this is outbound where we're following up with somebody that we were unable to get in touch with as well, and we're having this discussion. Either way, it happens in a number of ways, but the context of the conversation is basically the same. So someone is expressing interest in wanting to work with your clinic, to learn more about working with your clinic, or learn how they can come in and actually be, evaluated by your clinic, and they're gathering information, right? So the big mistakes that we see, number one, are that the eval or the discovery call is to sell the eval. The eval is to sell the plan of care. The discovery call is not to sell the plan of care. Here's what I mean by that. Number one, you cannot diagnose somebody over the phone, and you really shouldn't. You shouldn't even try. Even if you think you're amazing and you can just subjectively in 10 or 15 minutes get a pretty good idea of what's going on, and maybe you're fairly accurate, you should not diagnose somebody on the phone. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. You're giving them a lot of information that is unproven. The reason that we have lengthy evaluations and do a lot of hands-on objective assessments as well as subjective assessments is because we need additional information to be thorough and accurate with what we are diagnosing somebody with, and what prognosis is part of that. You cannot do that over the phone, and you're shooting yourself in the foot if you think that you can, because you're giving people too much information. You're not diagnosing them. You're not trying to sell a plan of care. You're selling them on the evaluation. The evaluation is where that will be defined. That's where we'll have enough information. So the whole point of the discovery call is then to get them to the evaluation, nothing more. The next thing that we see people really struggle with is the fact that if they're not, and usually this is clinicians, by the way, that diagnose. If they're not diagnosing somebody, then oftentimes they're having a hard time with handling two other things: the insurance question that they're going to get about do you take it or not, and then the price objections that they're going to get. So when someone asks you, okay, well, what does it cost to come and work with you? Well, that answer somewhat depends, right? So you can give them a range. Well, an evaluation is $250. Visits are anywhere between $200 and $250, depending on how many times we need to see you. And you can give them a range like that, right? You can also say, let's say you do monthly installments of what you're doing. You could say, it's between $600 and $800 a month to work with us, depending on what you have going on and the complexity of that problem. So you give them a broad range. What you don't want to say is it costs $2,000 to work with us, because there's no context for that. There's no value you've created. There's no trust you've built. This is a tough thing to tell somebody who literally is like just talked to you for 10 minutes, and for them to be like, yeah, I'm all in on that. That sounds great. Like, they have to be a very warm referral for that. So you can give smaller numbers, spread out more. I mean, at the end of the day, it is the same. It's just how you phrase it will dictate the throughput that you have on these calls quite a bit. So you don't want to make the mistake of just giving them a big number with no context versus, remember, you're selling the evaluation. You could just say, yeah, the cost of evaluation is this, depending on, how severe something is, it's between this and this, or it's this much a month or this much per visit. The number of visits is really dependent on how complex this is. And the only way we'll know that is to do a really good evaluation. And what they want is for somebody to do a really good evaluation. Because keep in mind, the average medical visit sucks. Like, people wait in a waiting room for way too long. They get just very little time with a medical provider. They usually don't fully understand what's going on. There's kind of poor follow-up associated with it. And sometimes people have more questions when they leave than whenever they showed up. And for you to actually do the complete opposite of that, have an hour or more, so we'll do hour and a half evals, an hour to an hour and a half, where you're literally in the most thorough manner possible, dialing everything in that could possibly be part of this equation and giving them a clear idea of what's going on, what they need to do going forward, and helping them really understand what the next steps look like and what they actually need to do to get that outcome. That is an immense amount of clarity that does not typically happen in a medical visit. It's very rare. That's why we see conversion percentages that are so high for people that are going to spend a couple $1,000s for a plan of care, because they understand why. They understand what's going on, and they feel like you can help them actually get what they want, which is, at the end of the day, that's what they're calling you for, because their back hurts or their neck hurts or their shoulder hurts and they can't throw the ball for their, with their kid. And that's important to them. Right? So we want to make sure that we're digging into why we're having these conversations, not necessarily just, what does it cost? The insurance question is another really big one that we get, right? Where people are like, oh, well, you take my insurance, right? And this throws a lot of people off. And it's honestly, it's pretty straightforward. There's a number of ways that you can respond to that, right? And, if I'm taking this call, to me, it's pretty straightforward. I'm saying, well, we are what's considered out of network. So we're not directly in network with your clinic. And so many people are aware of this, by the way, now. It's very common. It used to be people would say, do you take my insurance? And now the question is, you probably don't take my insurance, do you? And that puts us in a place of strength where we can say, no, we are not directly, in a contract with your insurance company. We just like the flexibility to do what we think is best for you. And we can, give you a super bill for the visit. You may get reimbursed for that. We can talk more about that at the evaluation. But at the end of the day, the ability for us to work one-on-one with people, to help solve deep problems, to have autonomy over how many times you come in, the plan of care that you have that's solely based on what you want to do versus what your insurance says you can and can't do. We prefer that flexibility, and that is why we have set up our clinic the way we have, really to be what's best for the patient. Because without me going into a long spiel, which I will not do that if I'm talking to somebody on the phone, if you really wanted to just be able to generate as much revenue as possible, volume is a pretty nice way to do that, right? It's not the best thing for the patient. It's not the best thing for the providers. And what's ironic is setting up lower volume in this sort of cash pay setting. These are not as scalable as if you had just a ton of referrals coming into your system, and you could stack 2 or 3 people an hour on somebody's schedule, and you could grow that to, dozens of providers. You have something quite valuable on your hands. Versus this way, it's more boutique, it's more individualized, it's more where the provider can actually practice the thing that they're trying to become the best in the world at, and truly help people in a manner that is more of a concierge approach. This is more of a pure relationship with that patient, and a lot of providers love that. And a lot of patients are looking for that, right? So if that's what they want, there's always premium options and basic options that everybody has. Even in socialized medical countries, you go to the UK, there's going to be the government system, and there's plenty of private healthcare because people want to skip the line, or they want more individualization or more premium options with what they're doing. It always exists, right? This is really no different. So just keep in mind a couple major things. Number one, don't throw a big number at people. Make sure that you give them an idea of what cost is, but you don't throw thousands of dollars at them right off the bat. That's a great way to reduce your close rate. The second thing, make sure that you understand we never diagnose. This is usually for the providers that are doing this, which they typically have the highest close rate, by the way. But if they're diagnosing people, it's just the wrong thing to do. It's just, you don't have enough information. You haven't even objectively had a chance to evaluate somebody. But also you're giving them too much information that's not accurate. The whole point of it is not to evaluate or to diagnose, but to push them to the evaluation, to sell the evaluation. Because that's the thing. Here's the deal. This visit, this evaluation, this is going to be the best medical experience you've ever had in your life. Our providers, if you're selling this is how we do it. Our provider's amazing. They love what they do. They're going to spend the whole hour with just you. We're here to listen to you. We want to know exactly what's going on. You're not going to wait, 30 minutes, then we spend 10 minutes with you. We're on time. We're here for you. This is all about you. And you're going to have a very, very deep understanding of what's going on, an accurate diagnosis, and a plan going forward of how we're going to help you resolve this. Or if we're not the best fit for you, we're going to help you get referred to the right person. That right there is incredibly valuable. a direct handoff, a vetted referral if needed. And not everybody belongs in our office. That's the other thing. There are things that are systemic that don't belong here. They need to be evaluated by primary care. They need to go to other subspecialties that are not us. That's our job. And we can really figure that out the best in the office at an eval. And we can provide a lot of value for people, even if they don't belong in our clinic, by making sure they realize where they should go and helping them get there. So selling the evaluation is key. And don't shy away from the fact that you take insurance. This is something that people are so aware of now. And it really puts you in a position where you're a premium patient-focused center. Lean into that. Don't make it like, oh, you don't take my insurance. Well, the people that do, there's no way they're going to be able to treat you the way that we do, because if they could, they would, but they can't, because insurance dictates that they have to see far more volume, and they have to do so and keep their doors open. Like, we focus on you. This is a premium option. It's not for everybody, but if you want direct attention from incredibly high quality providers, they're going to help you get the outcome that you want. We're amazing at that, right? And like, a lot of people want that. Don't lose the authority that you have from that. This is a huge advantage now, way more so than it was a little over a decade ago when I started my practice. So if you're taking these calls, just remember the entire intent of this call is to get people to the evaluation. And even if it's just like, look, even if you just come in for the evaluation and you pay from that, and then you want to go to an insurance clinic or something like that, it doesn't work for you, this is in the right spot, cool. But I promise you this evaluation is going to be the best medical evaluation you've ever had. You've never had somebody spend an entire 60 minutes just solely focused on you, listening to you, watching how you move, testing everything out, and actually going through everything in a thorough manner to have the time to do so. You're going to have a very clear idea of what's going on, whether it's with us or somebody else. Just even getting them to the eval, if they're on the fence, is a great next step, because the thing is, if they come in and they work with you and they have a great visit, they're very likely to stick around and continue to want to work with you. Like, they just want the outcome at the end of the day. They may just not trust that you're worth the investment just yet, but you can prove that in the office. So discovery call equals get them in the evaluation. That's the primary goal. Don't diagnose them. Don't try to go down some rabbit hole of all kinds of other crap that you don't need to talk about. Get them to the evaluation. Let your providers, your amazing providers, do what they do best and help these people get what they want, in their life and get back to the activities that they love. So, hope this helps. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.